My name is Amy Stamison Kotsiomitis, and I'm from the Ascension Cathedral in Oakland, California.
Great. And tell us a little bit about your family.
My family is from Arcadia, Greece. My father was born and raised there, and my mother was born to Arcadian parents and in the United States. So pretty much 100% Arcadian. And I actually married an Arcadian from Greece. I met him when I was on vacation in Greece, and he came to the United States, and we got married.
Great.
Yep.
So he was born in Greece.
He was born and raised in Greece in the same town that my father was.
That's great. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And your children, their names and ages.
Okay. I have two sons. Yanni is 17 and Christian is 15.
Great. Okay, if you could we'll just go all the way back. If you could tell us how you got started in FDF.
Back in time. I started in FDF in 1979 at the FDF that was in San Jose, California. I participated as a dancer. My dance group was named the Panhellenics, and it was our first year of competing in FDF. It was the first year that Ascension sent a group, and we have been involved in FDF ever since as a parish.
That's great. When did you start Greek dancing yourself?
I started Greek dancing when I was about 4 years old. Dance was always very popular in Oakland. We started dance groups early for the younger kids, and as soon as I was able to start, I joined in and have been dancing ever since.
What was your experience like at FDF in those early years?
It was wonderful. It was a time where we could meet people from other communities. It allowed us to get to know them, to look forward to seeing them at other events. It was a way of all the Greek kids getting together, getting to know each other, have fun. A lot of marriages came out of FDF, actually.
Yeah.
People that would have probably never have met, fell in love, got married, and now their kids are attending.
When you went to FDF, what was it about the not just the dancing, but about the sense of community you got?
When we went to FDF, you kind of knew everybody was the same. So we're all from a Greek family. We all, celebrated the Greek holidays. We all observed the Greek culture. We all attended church. We all had the common language. You felt like everybody was family.
That's great. Did you participate in any of I know they put on like an entertainment event at every FDF. Were you involved in that at all?
I don't remember ever being involved in that, but I know we had groups from our community that did participate in that, like talent shows, competitions, right. That kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, I never personally was involved in any.
You were involved in the management group, though.
Right.
So I'd love to hear a story about that.
Right. I was involved in actually running the 1989 FDF. I was the executive director at that FDF. It was in Oakland, California. And in those days, we had the FDF in different locations, and the home parishes of that location were very involved. So when it was in Oakland, the Oakland community was involved in it, and I was the executive director. So basically, it was my job to join the FDF governing board with my home parish and put together a team to run the event, actually.
What was involved in that?
A lot of planning. We were coming out of a year that didn't do so well financially. The 1988 FDF had some issues, and so there was a lot of focus on budget, being responsible as far as where we were spending our money, setting a package price that was going to ensure that we would at least break even, maybe make a little money. And I pulled in a lot of people who had experience in budgeting and running a business. And out of our FDF, I'm really proud to say a lot of things that we started are still being used. One example is instead of being charged by the plate at the banquet, they charge you as you come in for your meal by the number of silverware settings that they give out. So as you walk in for your meals, they hand you a set of silverware that's wrapped in a napkin. And so the hotel knows that they gave out 1,000 sets of silverware, so therefore they charge for 1,000 meals.
Makes sense.
That's something that we started in Oakland, and it's still being used today, in fact.
And how old were you when you were the executive director?
I was 24. I
Wow.
was a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you know that you are known as the Dryers girl
I'm
by
sure.
everybody?
Yep.
Tell us what happened there.
So I've been working at Dryers for 30 years. I was 20 years old when I started, and I thought it was just going to be a part-time job to get me through college, and then I would do something else. And they offered me a full-time job after I graduated, and I stayed on. And then I started getting involved in the management of FDF, and they were all very aware of what I was doing. And because of my success there, I was offered a position in finance. And I've been working in finance ever since. Nestle USA bought Dryers back in 2004-ish, and I now work for Nestle USA in their corporate finance group.
So I think you could say that FDF definitely helped your career.
It actually, yes, it did. FDF was very instrumental in my career and in really bringing out a talent that I didn't know I had, and that was in finance, in budgeting, and cost control.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I'm still working in today.
That's great. Did you go on any scholarship seminars to Greece?
No, I didn't go to Greece, but I did a seminar in New York. So in the early 80s, a group of us traveled to New York to attend a workshop seminar with Paul Guinness, who was the founder of the Greek Folklore Society back in New York, in Astoria, New York. And he had put together a workshop, and John Lulius was one of the directors there, in Paul, and there were some musicians from Greece, and it was a great weekend of networking, and consequently he brought a group to FDF in '89, and that was kind of their debut performance. The Greek American Folklore Society, the West Coast branch, which he started, debuted at our 1989 FDF, which was a lot of fun. And Paul maintained really good involvement with the Folk Dance Festival.
Were you a director at any time?
I was a director in the early 80s. I was a director and continued to do so up until '89 when I started working in management of FDF.
Okay.
And then I continued after '89 as an advisor to the management teams, as well as I was treasurer of the FDF board for a few years. So I continued my involvement up until I think the last FDF I was involved in was in '94. I also participated in negotiating the contracts with the hotels and the convention centers during that time as well. Peter's son, Thanasi, and I would go out and kind of scout different sites and talk to the people and see what kind of a contract we can get. In those days, FDF moved around.
Right.
Nowadays, it's kind of based in Southern California, which makes it really hard for those of us in the north that have to travel every year.
Why do you think it changed? Or why did it?
I think it changed because of the management is based down there, and maybe they don't want to travel as much. I've given them suggestions that I think, in fairness, they should alternate north and south, because those of us who fly down every year, a family of 4, that's an extra expense that the people down south don't bear. So there should be some kind of adjustment or compensation or something that they can do to help out. I think, the nice thing would be to alternate.
Right, like they used to.
Right.
Just the thought, about the different generations of FDF. I know that your children dance. So if you could tell us about what that has been like to see your children grow up and participate in FDF.
So my children have been participating in FDF for about the last 10 years. Being a parent at FDF is very different than being a dancer yourself or being part of the management team. It's part of, I guess, the cycle of how things change in life. But I'm not a typical FDF participant because of the knowledge that I have from being involved in the management of it. So I tend to see things with a more critical eye, and I try to not spoil my children's good time by making comments that are probably not appropriate for them to hear. But it's fun. It's not the same. I don't have the same connection to it that I did when I was dancing. And when I was involved in the management of it. And, of course, the Preovolos family is not involved anymore, and that was a big connection for me, and always was a welcoming group of people that made you feel part of it. Even if you weren't still running it, you were still, invited to be on, kind of on the inside and have that warmth and that welcoming. I don't feel that anymore. I just feel like I go there, my kids participate. I have my Oakland community that I run the dance program in Oakland, and I'm part of that. So I have my camaraderie with the directors and the other parents and so forth. But it's different. It's a different group of people that I'm dealing with than I was before.
Right.
It's on a different level, different age group, everything. We've all gotten older.
Things change.
Yeah. It's very different. Very different.
Tell me a little bit, like we were talking before, about a typical FDF weekend at the Preovolos home, and kind of how welcoming they were, and all the kids sleeping over.
Okay. Typical prepping for FDF for me, in the years that I was involved as an advisor particularly, was flying down numerous times to San Diego, typically right after work on a Friday, coming back late on a Sunday, and spending the weekend going through registrations, doing banquet seating, pretty much anything that needed to be done. And, Peter and Litsa were always so very welcoming. There were numerous groups of us sleeping all over the place. I usually got Spiro's room. We were up running around till all hours of the night trying to get done as much as we could get done, because on Sunday night we all needed to go back to our homes, and the work week, the school week, wherever you may needed to be, and then back again Friday night to do more. I mean, it was a group of volunteers, and we tried to get as much done as we possibly could. And in those days we didn't have the technology that we have now. So it was either, you get yourself down there and you all sit down together and work with papers and try to get registration set, and the scheduling of the groups to dance, what the times, seating for banquets, workshop schedules, you name it. I mean, that's what we were doing. And, nowadays it's a lot easier, I'm sure, with technology.
Sure.
But in those days, that's what we were doing. And, we were on the planes most of the time at our own expense, because we really didn't have a budget. And, we just did it. And Peter and Litsa would feed us and house us and run us around. And the boys would pick us up at the airport and drop us off. And
wow.
Yeah.
Were you around Charlie?
Yes. I spent a lot of time with Charlie, actually. And in fact, at this last FDF, I saw him and talked to him. So yeah. It was a nice connection. Charlie's a brilliant guy. And he would always play the devil's advocate with any of us that was the executive directors for that year. So he was always wanting to make sure that we were prepared for everything, and what if this, what are you going to do if this happens? He really wanted us to succeed. He had a great love for the program and for Greek dance, and even though I think he was misunderstood in a lot of ways just because of his way, the way he went about things, he was really our biggest supporter, I think.
That's great. Could you just say his full name, Charlie Kyriakou?
Charlie Kyriakou.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. In fact, his sister is in Oakland, Maria Kiriakou, and when I ran the FDF in 1989, she was in charge of registration for me.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't heard about his sister. We interviewed him too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, his sister, and I mean, she just did a brief stint there because of his involvement, and it was in Oakland, and we wanted to have reliable people that we knew we could count on, and yeah, she stepped up. We still keep in touch. I see her in church a lot.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know he had a sister. Because we have so many other people waiting, I could talk more, but kind of two things. One is, what would be your best memory of FDF? And the other, if that doesn't come to mind, what do you think the future, why do you think it's lasted so long, and what do you think the future of FDF is?
So probably my best memory of FDF was in 1989 when I got up to greet the people at the banquet, which was the end of the entire weekend and prior to giving out the awards, and standing at the podium and looking out through the room and just seeing that amount of people, 2,500 people at a sit-down banquet in the Oakland Convention Center, and we had to turn people away because we didn't have room to accommodate them. I mean, that was the most awesome sight, that you have multi-generations, you have 4-year-old kids, you have yayadas and papudas, grandparents, all involved and so engaged in this event. That, to me, that was the most awesome sight for me.
That has to be impressive.
Yeah, it was something else. I think the reason why FDF has stayed alive is because it draws the kids in, and it's interesting and fun for the kids, and bringing the kids together, you get the parents, the grandparents, and everybody together as well. And it's something that ties them to the church and to the communities, because that's where they go. They go there for dance practice. And then when they go there for dance practice, they may get involved in something else. They may go to Greek school. They'll go to Sunday school. And it's one of the main things that gets them to church. And then from that, they get involved in other things as well, other aspects.
Great.
And it makes it fun for them, because they know every year they're going to get together and they're going to go see their friends that they haven't seen in Southern California, and have a good weekend.
They all stay in touch on Facebook, it seems like.
Yep. They stay in touch on Facebook. They Skype. You never know who your kid can be talking to on Skype.
Is that good or bad?
No, I mean, you know, my kids talk to their cousins in Greece on Skype. They talk to their FDF friends on Skype. You know, you never know.
Have they gone to Greece on scholarships at all through FDF? Or is
my kids haven't done the scholarships, but they were actually there for 5 weeks this summer with their dad.
Oh, that's right.
And then I joined them for the last 2 weeks. So we go back and forth about every other year. My husband's family is all still there, and I have a lot of family there, and it makes it fun for them. One of the things I'll share with you this year, actually before I got there, they had gone to a panigiri, which is an outdoor festival with live music, a lot of food, a lot of drinking. There was probably 1,000 people there. My kids danced and apparently stopped the whole event. The musicians came down and played just for them. They were throwing money, flowers. Their grandmother, who lives there, was in tears. And my husband said, "Now I get why you put so much into FDF."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And because they were doing authentic
They
Greek
were doing
dancing.
authentic Greek dancing. My kids were leading. They were doing, you know, tricks. I don't know how you would. I mean, they were phenomenal.
Do you know what dance they were doing?
They were doing a tsamiko, which is a traditional man's dance from our area of Greece. And it was amazing. I'm sad that I didn't see it, but they videotaped it. It was on the Greek news, apparently. It was like a big deal. You know, the little American kids came and wow, they outdanced everybody.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's the best story.
Yeah, so it was like really an affirmation of why do we do it? Because it gets hectic. I'm not gonna lie. The last month before FDF, you've got double, triple practices. You're driving back and forth. You're trying to finish costumes. You know, you've got to take off of work to fly down there, and it gets hectic. And you kind of wonder, why are we doing this? And you know, especially for my husband who didn't grow up with it, you know, I'm always having to say, no, no, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. We'll get through it. It'll be fun. You'll see. And this kind of, you know, was an aha moment for him. Like, I get it now. I was so proud, he said.
Oh,
You know,
that's
yeah.
wonderful to hear. That's
Yeah.
great.